all of those combined, is an average of 7 to 9 times more money in the last 30 years.
But listen, I get it. They're maximizing out the money. It's where the industry headed, and now they're starting to bring up the cap conversation. But where do you cap it? There's guys that are making $700 million. Where are you going to cap it at? $1 billion?
Yeah. So I just read about this possible lockout for Major League Baseball. And look, I'm a fan of if the market can bear whatever it is and you can make more money, and I've always been a fan of that, pay me, the market can bear it. Then you get asked the question, at what level does it stop? Because it will always go down to not only networks paying more to air the games, but fans. And that's really what it comes down to. So I looked at this and went, okay, do you have the landscape that says, yeah, I want $400 million to play baseball? And I look at that and say, again, if you can get it, you can get it, but at what cost? So I looked at the average last year, because this season's not over yet. I looked at the average ticket. These are just tickets. So let's say you go with your spouse or one child. This is per. So the NFL average tickets are $300 per ticket. Now, let that sink in. Regular ticket. We're not even talking about playoffs. So we're going to go down the list. NFL average ticket, $300. NHL hockey, $146. So round it out to $150.
Yeah.
The NBA, which obviously is on fire, $165 per ticket. Now, because the MLB season, baseball is so long, it's lower, but at the end of the day, the average price is about $80. But where are you sitting for that $80? Yeah. You're probably sitting in the upper deck somewhere. And in the last 30 years, all of those combined is an average of 7 to 9 times more money in the last 30 years. So a friend of mine I spoke to took 2 family members to a Giants game last season. And he said at the end of the day, with the tickets and what he bought, you have to eat, drink something.
Yeah.
He said, I got out of there at $600.
That's a regular game.
That's a regular game. So you have to look at it and say, you got to take your kids to a game. Or if you love whatever sport it is, you hopefully want to go.
So I got to tell you, I took it for granted when I was with the Eagles and the Spanish division with the Eagles. We get our laminates, and oddly enough, for parking, we get a regular stub ticket. But you don't think about it. You know, you're going to work, blah blah blah.
No.
And I've been paying attention to parking. I'm not even paying attention to tickets, to parking tickets. I mean, for a regular game, these people are paying per car upwards starting at $40. So it does. It's a little mind blowing that I mean, we're paying $40 for the car. Nothing has changed. You're just parking in the same lot that you were parking in 10, 15 years ago. As I talked to the guys, I'm like, hey, you guys just come and hang out, because there's a lot of tailgating and stuff like that. And I got to meet some really cool people. And they're like, yeah, man. And one person, I said, how did you get into tailgating all the time? He said the tickets got too expensive, so I party out here. I'm like, oh, okay. But I really didn't think about it that much because I was going to work. So to me, it did. But now that I don't work for it, and every time, we love to see the Yankees when they come down to Florida and stuff like that. You feel it. You definitely feel it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What you just said is absolutely true. I was handed tickets on a regular basis for, it didn't matter, regular season, playoffs, World Series. I got handed the tickets and as gifts, from the teams, from whomever.
Yeah.
And you get used to that at a certain point and go, okay, yeah, would you like to go tonight? Would you talk about it and so on and so forth. And now when I'm talking to my friend, I was like, when you hear something and for a second, you think, I didn't hear what he just said. What, how much? Um, for the average person, we're not talking about the people who can easily afford, courtside seats or right behind home plate. And you go eat in special, restaurants at the stadium. The bottom line about it is the average person, if they want to still have their
Mhm.
kids, or maybe you and your spouse go if you're a fan of your team once a year, they're going to put that on a credit card and they're not going to see that because it's not cash coming out of their hand.
Mhm.
Uh, and then, first of all, you hope your team wins. Second of all, you might be lucky, as I
Yeah.
have. Yeah, you might be lucky a couple of times, as I have, that you see an unbelievable game. Okay, that's
Correct.
far and few in between, a great comeback or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I asked the question, how can the average fan who has gone through maybe generations of a fan for that team afford to go? I'm not talking about the successful business person. And what do you do? Do you maybe go to one game a year? And do you start doing things like I hear people do? They eat before they go to the stadium. You got to buy a program for the kid. You got to buy something. Maybe it's a hat, or you're not getting out of there for
Yeah.
deep into three figures. And I just wonder, how high is this going to go with, as I said, the lockout in baseball, that the owners are saying to the players, look, you're making incredible amounts of money. That being said, so are the owners because their prices go up to the networks and everything surrounding it. But it's not just about that. Baseball, let's go baseball,
Mhm.
was on free TV with you and I growing up. It was every
Correct.
day. It was on free TV. Then it got to a point where some of them were on, some of them were not. Now I don't even know if any games are on free TV unless you have the network in a cable package that plays that. And I wonder if you have to pay for that.
Now that you mentioned about the networks, um, you got to keep up because sometimes they're on the network, but sometimes they're on the app of another network. So if you don't have that app that you got to pay for, no, it's
Mhm.
like, what are we doing here, guys? I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it because capitalism, I'm all in for it. But at,
Hmm.
I don't know, at what cost to the fan? And I got to tell you, a lot of fans are very, very disappointed on the way that we all have to bounce around to try to find it if they're on this network, or they're on a streaming app, or are they on regular TV? It's insane. It really is insane, and it
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
fair.
I saw a documentary about this, and the documentary were people that they were interviewing
Mhm.
said that there was one guy in particular said that he went to Yankee Stadium for 25 years. Had he bought the seats for 25 years, and at that time it wasn't really a lot of money to have a season or half a season. And he said he just got to the point, I'm a lifelong Yankee fan. It's been in my family for generations. And now you have to think about all the major hubs that are dealing the same
Mhm.
way, regardless what city it is. And he said it just got to a point where I could not afford these seats anymore. After 25 years, the same seats, bringing my family, that now we
Yeah.
pick one game here or maybe another game there. And uh, I believe once you cross that line, you don't go back because it's about the money.
Well, I got to tell you, being a Yankee fan and being down in Florida, so for us, we got to start bouncing around, right?
Mm,
If they're on, so in my TV package, I have ESPN. So if they're on ESPN, I'm good. I added the Yes Network because obviously that's their network. So
right, right.
50% of the time they're there, but I had to add the MLB package because they'll block Yes Network games and
Yeah.
put them on MLB only.
Hmm.
And that's horrible. Now,
And
this
then
is the
you
kicker.
can,
If
and
they're
you,
playing in Florida, they're playing in Florida, they'll block the MLB, the Yes Network, and I have to look for a Florida local channel. So if I didn't have any Florida
wow.
channels, then I wouldn't see it. I mean, normally they'll play them in the major networks here, but still, it's a pain in the ass. It's like, how much work do I have? I don't even work for you, and I got to pay for you. And now I got to, like, come on.
Yeah.
And but listen, I get it. They're maximizing out the money. It's where the industry headed, and
Yeah.
now they're starting to bring up the cap conversation. But where do you cap it? There's guys that are making $700 million. Where are you going to cap it at $1 billion?
Yeah. Where are you going to cap it? And the bottom line is, if you do cap it, of which I personally, my
Mm,
guess, if you have to go on one side or the other, I don't think there's going to be a cap in the sense there's going to be something else that you're going to hit levels.
hmm
I think they're going to work that in because if you're crazy enough to cut a check for 700 million, I'm going to cash that check. There's
Correct.
no two ways about that. And then you get to the other line that are you really worth that kind of money as a player versus other players that are making less that are worth that money in today's market? That's another conversation for
Yeah.
another day. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is if you can get that deal in your life, whatever that is, you, me, anybody, that this is what we want, this is what we're worth, and that other person is willing to cut that check, well, then you have a business deal. I just go back to sports. Uh, for those people who remember, there was in the very early days, sports was just starting to grow. There was a commentator by the name of Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
And I remember him distinctly saying on an interview that one day sports will be a major business unlike anything we've ever seen. And man, I'll be damned if that's not exactly what
Yeah.
happened. I don't know, 30 years and maybe after he said it, or might even be more. So this whole conversation is about, does that lock the average diehard fan out of a game, any season game, and then forget
Yeah.
about playoffs or finals or World Series or Super Bowl? That forget that. That's you're out of your mind because first of all, if your team is in the Super Bowl, you now have to travel to wherever it is, and we all know it's only in warm weather climates now, or if they have a roof. That's it. If they have a dome, you have to put yourself up. You have to eat. You have to buy the ticket. At what point do you say to, especially to your child who doesn't understand the money aspect of it, I'm sorry, we can't go. And you know what's going to happen. They're going to say, why can't we go to see our team?
Yeah.
What are you going to tell that child?
Correct. Yeah. And especially like you
So,
said, if you have more than one, I mean, what do you take
oh,
one and not the other one? It's like,
yeah. Here's my question. Are they now conditioning people to just accept it and say, yeah, we'll put it on a credit card? And in a game that's maybe over in 2 hours and your night is over maybe from start to finish in 4 hours, that you're now going to pay for the average person. How many months are you going to pay to take that off your credit card if you don't pay it in full? My question is, are you at a point now where you say, oh, all right, the hell with it, screw it, let's go, and then deal with it for months after?
So I just think people are accepting it. That's there. It's like an anniversary, right? There's a special occasion, and you go once a year. I mean, when we were both in New York, we probably went, I don't know, 5-10 games. I don't think I could do
Sure.
5-10 games anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the average person, no. And then if you really want to kick back, and a lot of the audience will remember this, there was a time that you could bring food into the stadium.
No, an event, a sporting event nowadays, it's an extreme luxury, right? It's not even part of our growing up. And you and I mean, we went to Anaheim to watch the Yankees, and I
Yeah.
remember it was like an hour drive for us, but we kept talking. Remember, they had these little red monkeys that everybody bought because
Yeah.
weren't even a giveaway. It was like everybody was buying, and it was like a $50
Yeah.
little monkey that literally looks like it costs $5.
That goes back to my point. I wonder, are we being conditioned
Mm.
that if you want to go, this is the way it is?
Funny, I have a client at the cigar lounge, an amazing, humongous, diehard Knicks fan, has never been to one game. And we were having this conversation because he said, "Hey, you guys going to be open?" I was like, yeah, we'll be open. He said, "Yeah, I was going to have a watch party, this and that. And, it's, I love the Knicks, and I'm a New Yorker, this and that." And I'm like, "Oh, you used to go when you were a kid?" He's like, my dad can never afford it. And obviously now it's a little bit out of control. So imagine back in his days, it was a little bit non-affordable. So today it's just astronomical.
So what you just said a little while ago about the concerts, which is another story for another day. However, every one of those artists know what the tickets are being sold for. So when people play, oh, they don't know. Yeah, they know. And the reason is every one of them knows because I watched an interview with Billy Joel, and I think it was somewhere around 20 years ago, he stopped allowing to sell the first two rows. Now, think about that. That's the most money. It's the first two rows. But he said the reason was, and one reason only was, the attitude of the people that afforded those seats were, yeah, I'm here, entertain me. And that was his answer. And he said, I would just look down at these concerts and they really weren't having a good time. So I would take the people that in the last row that could barely afford it and I would bring them down to the front. And then at some point, Billy Joel was saying, I just stopped selling the tickets for the front row and I brought the real fans down from the rafters. Now, that is far and few in between.
Yeah.
So, again, you get to a point where I think there's just a lot of fans for whatever it may be, sports, which is what this conversation is about. And then even go to concerts that have just been real fans that have generations or bought your product that are now they're gone. They can't do this anymore. So where do you go? I mean, where do you go and say, should you reward those fans for a lifetime of being a fan? Or should you say, well, this is business. This is the way it is. I personally kind of go in the middle that for those people who can barely afford it, whatever it is, in my mind, there should be a section where this is a package deal if you can afford it. And when it sells out, meaning it's not thousands of dollars.
Correct.
It's affordable. And maybe this is my sense, maybe make it X amount of dollars and you get to park, you get 2 tickets and that would be it. So if you want to purchase 4 tickets, you have to do it again. But that's me. I don't own the team. So I don't, what was that? Maybe that was the man upstairs saying, no, Al, that's not right. Anyway, I think that, I don't know, that might be a way, but my take on it is I don't think we're ever going to see days where the average person can afford to go to a major event.
It's tough. It's tough. And even in New York, I mean, we got the famous bleacher creatures, and those are supposed to be the least expensive tickets. And even those have gone up in price. And I think those are the most affordable tickets, at least in Yankee Stadium. I mean, you're standing the whole game.
There's a section next to the bleacher creatures where you stand the entire game in dead center field. And okay, if you're willing to do that, there's a price that's affordable. So that goes back to me saying, give some people, fans, maybe you don't give them a seat, but if you want to stand and you're willing to stand and watch the game, you are there. It's just, do you want to stand for the entire game? Which, when you think about it, most of the game you're standing anyway. If something exciting happens.
Exactly.
So, but at the end of the day, I'd love to hear from our people who are watching who are listening, where you're listening from. What's your take on this? Do you go to games? We'd love to hear from you on Two Guys. I'm just saying it's available on all major platforms. And I know we go through this again and again, but really help us a lot. If you can subscribe
Yes.
and share and like. But I would love to know from wherever people are listening. Do you even go to games anymore as the average person? What do you do if you go to games? Are you limited? Do you say, okay, I'm eating before, it's only the tickets, and maybe I'll get something to drink? I don't know what the average person does to go to a sporting event in today's world.